Madame de Stael, all which leads me to suspect that the grave traveller was considerably under the influence of her fascinations, and that neither mines nor mountains, geography nor geology, petrified shells nor alpenkaldstein, had occupied him to the exclusion of a slight stratum of flirtation. It is a comfort to think that sometimes even the great Humboldt nods. One of La Guera's stories is too original to be lost. A lady of high rank having died in Mexico, her relatives undertook to commit her to her last resting place, habited according to the then prevailing fashion, in her most magnificent dress, that which she had worn at her wedding. This dress was a wonder of luxury even in Mexico. It was entirely composed of the finest lace, and the flounces were made of a species of point which cost $50 a vara (the Mexican yard). Its equal was unknown. It was also ornamented and looped up at certain intervals with bows of ribbon very richly embroidered in gold. In this dress the Condesa de was laid in her coffin, thousands of dear friends crowding to view her beautiful costume de mort, and at length she was placed in her tomb, the key of which was entrusted to the sacristan. From the tomb to the opera is a very abrupt transition, nevertheless both have a share in this story. A company of French dancers appeared in Mexico, a 20th rate ballet, and the chief danseuse was a little French damsel, remarkable for the shortness of her robes, her coquetry, and her astonishing pirouettes. On the night of a favourite ballet, Mademoiselle Pauline made her entrée in a succession of pirouettes, and poising on her toe, looked round for approbation, when a sudden thrill of horror, accompanied by a murmur of indignation, pervaded the assembly. Mademoiselle Pauline was equipped in the very dress in which the defunct Countess had been buried. Lace, point flounces, gold ribbons, impossible to mistake it. Hardly had the curtain dropped, when the little danseuse found herself surrounded by competent authorities, questioning her as to where and how she had obtained her dress. She replied that she had bought it at an extravagant price from a French modiste in the city. She had rifled no tomb, but honestly paid down golden ounces in exchange for her lawful property. To the modistes went the officers of justice. She also pleaded innocent. She had bought it of a man who had brought it to her for sale, and had paid him much more than a pois d'or, as indeed it was worth. By dint of further investigation the man was identified, and proved to be the sacristan of San Short-sighted sacristan! He was arrested and thrown into prison, and one benefit resulted from his cupidity. Since in order to avoid throwing temptation in the way of future sacristans, it became the custom, after the body had lain in state for some time in magnificent robes, to substitute a plain dress, previous to placing the coffin in the vault. A poor vanity after all. I was told by a lady here, that on the death of her grandchild, he was not only enveloped in rich lace, but the diamonds of 3 condesas and 4 marquesas were collected together and put on him, necklaces, bracelets, rings, brooches, and tiaras, to the value of several $100,000. The street was hung with draperies, and a band of music played, whilst he was visited by all the titled relatives of the family in his dead splendour, poor little baby. Yet his mother mourned for him as for all her blighted hopes, and the last scion of a noble house. Grief shows itself in different ways, yet one might think that when it seeks consolation in display, it must be less profound than when it shuns it. End of letter the ninth.